Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Jessel Noor in Baltimore. On July 18th, 2013, 44-year-old Tyrone West, an unarmed African American man, was stopped and violently beaten in the Kitmore neighborhood of Northeast Baltimore. He died shortly after in police custody. Police say he died of health issues exacerbated by dehydration and very high heat, and not due to the violent nature of his arrest. On December 18th, the city prosecutor decided that no police officer will be charged in relation to the incident. Now joining us for their first televised interview are two guests. We're joined by Tawanda Jones, Tyrone West's sister. We're also joined by Jamie Richardson, his cousin. Thank you both for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
So Tawanda, let's start with you. Baltimore State's Attorney Greg L. Bernstein, he declined to press charges against the officers involved in the killing of your brother. And he also said that the police were legally justified in using force. And he also made a point of noting that they claim he had a gram of cocaine on him, is on parole, and had 3 previous convictions for resisting arrest. What was your response to that statement and the fact that no police officers were charged in the death of your brother?
I'm very disgusted, and I speak for my whole entire family. We're disgusted at Greg Bernstein, who never prosecutes any of his officers. And for them to say that my brother had a gram of drugs on him, we know that that was a lie. For the simple fact he was driving my vehicle at the time, and I still had my vehicle. And anyone knows that if there's any drugs found on your person's body, I wouldn't have my vehicle. You know, on that day, he was going to give a friend a ride, and it should not result to him being brutally kicked, stomped, tased, maced by 10 police officers. And as far as his past, he did his time. Let's stay focused on July the 18th, when he was driving, and for no reason, he was brutally murdered with witnesses, eyewitness accounts, who saw and could attest to him being brutally murdered. And we had many witnesses. And for the prosecutor not to look or take any of their statements and try to intimidate them is really sad. And I want the world to know it could be you if something don't get done in this. And we're not really shocked, because it's like 32 murders that we're aware of that we know that police had brutally beat and killed or shot someone, and he never prosecuted anybody. So, but only reason why we thought it was going to be different, because we said, okay, this thing is videoed. We have like 10 or more witnesses, basically a whole community of witnesses, but we have like 10 or more people coming forward with videotapes. So we felt like it was a big chance that he was, probably going to, prosecute these officers, but he didn't. He's a big letdown, as normal.
So Jamie, I want to bring you in the conversation. Talk about what the family and the supporters had to do on a weekly basis to get any answers relating to the death of your cousin, Tyrone West.
Well, basically, we been protesting and doing marches since July the 18th at different agencies to get some answers. Nobody came to my family to say, we're sorry for your loss and we're going to do investigation. Nobody did that. We came out, we went to different agencies to figure out what was going on. The medical examiner office was withholding the autopsy. They released it, and it's still only half of the autopsy.
Which is very unusual. Normally,
it's unusual,
the autopsy is released within 90 days at the most.
And not to mention, it's just the fact that they're going off what the police say. How are you a medical examiner's office? You're supposed to be transparent. All you know is you got a dead body, and you're supposed to look at what happened to this body. You're not supposed to go off of what the police are saying. That's bias. Nothing about this whole thing has been transparent at all. Nothing. And we're still searching for answers. We still don't have answers. And we're talking 173 days. We still don't have my brother's autopsy. We had to bury him without a death certificate. You're born in this world with a birth certificate. How dare you leave this world without a death certificate? Why did we even need a death certificate in the first place? Why were these 2 road cops, and let's get to them, Nicholas Davis Chapman and Officer Ruiz, They initially started this and dragged 9 other cops into this. By the way, if they was taken off 2 weeks prior, they brutally beat Abdul Salam. This is public record. Anybody can do research. They should have been took off the streets. And it was indicated in Anthony Anderson death.
So to be clear, 2 of the officers that were
Yes,
involved,
the 2 that started it.
that were involved
Nicholas Davis
in the death of your
and
brother.
Ruiz, yes. The first 2 that pulled him over for whatever unknown reason, you know, these are...
they had a record, a very recent record of violence.
Yes, a recent record 2 weeks prior. And then, by the way, Nicholas Davis Chapman's riding around on suspended driver's license. So how are you able to operate the police car in the first place? But more than that, you brutally beat a man 2 weeks prior to my brother's death. If they would have been just taken off on desk duty, my brother would be alive. We would not be in the studio today.
Did you get a response from authorities about that issue? The record of these police officers, the
Greg
complaints?
Bernstein said, tell him.
They wasn't involved.
No. And then when I told him and I brought up facts, he said, well, you know what, I'm sorry. That's administrative. What do you mean? Are you serious? Administrative? That's all you can tell me? So he brutally beat, tased, and maced by these killers, and you gonna tell me it's administrative? We know that. What are you gonna do about administrative?
And you brought up the issue of witnesses.
Witnesses,
the police,
numerous
witnesses spoke to police.
Spoke
There's video.
to them, eyewitness account, videos, and then they kept bringing these witnesses, trying to intimidate them, week after week, making them go to North Avenue Courthouse, like as if they were gonna recant their statements. Everybody said, I done heard them on the news, different talk shows, of him being brutally murdered. Now, if you're resisting arrest, how are you screaming, please help me, stop, they're killing me. Even at one point, a witness said he was yelling Trayvon Martin as he was being brutally beat, tased, and kicked. If you're resisting, you're just running. You're not yelling help, they're killing me. That don't sound like resisting to me. And when I asked Greg Bernstein, I said, did you look at that? I said, forget what I'm saying, forget any of this. Did you see the video? He said, well, I didn't really look at it. I just saw what was on the news. I said, what do you mean? I said, on the news, they don't show everything. Like, you didn't take the time. Well, no, that's the administration. How you gonna, so you basically let murders go again. And it's just sad and it's a shame.
And I just want to add that these were 10 armed police officers, Baltimore City
10
and
guns.
Morgan State.
Yes.
And to be clear, Tyrone West was unarmed.
Unarmed.
They beat my cousin to death. They beat my cousin to death. My cousin wasn't shot. He wasn't stabbed. He was beating. Can you imagine how long that takes in order for someone to die? People don't understand what we're going through.
And not only that, and for them, it's a conscious conspiracy to obstruct justice because we still don't have his autopsy. They're just lining up what the police said, and they're trying to make it seem like my brother had this health, you know, like he was this unhealthy person. He was a very healthy young man. And then a simple fact, me and him just got finished eating dinner before he got that phone call to come pick him up. He just drunk a whole 32-ounce gallon of Deer Park water in my face and had another one, and then they look so foolish. You see a Deer Park water bottle on the top of my car with these police, and they spray so much of pepper spray that you seeing them pouring water in the police eyes. What about my brother's eyes? Who tried to help him? No one.
Now, our viewers know that, unfortunately, incidents like this are very common in this country. The Malcolm X grassroots movement did a report that every 28 hours, an African-American man or woman is killed.
It's open season on a black man.
Is killed by police or vigilantes in this country. So talk about what lessons you have learned from this experience that you hope to share with others, and what the next steps will be in getting justice.
The next step is we're gonna stay out here. We shutting every town hall meeting down. This is our time of the year, it's the election year. We getting them jokers out of the chair. You know, I'm a taxpayer dollar, I'm a teacher, I work every day. I don't go out here and bust my tail to pay for people to kill people in our community, especially my brother. So I do my jury duty service, I do all of that. And I do not commit crimes, and I will not have them done. So we're gonna get them out. We don't like what's going on. I urge everybody, you can vote the same way they got in the chair. We're gonna vote them out, flat out.
Would you like to add anything else?
It's just hard. It really is. And then we're not gonna stop. We're going to be just like a splinter in somebody's foot that they can't get out.
And this is like them just constantly keep on making up lies. Now all of a sudden, you wait. Now, if they would have brought out some of these lies, maybe a week after this happened, even 2 weeks, you're gonna wait 158 days to tell us some nonsense. Now you wanna take all this time to draw a cartoon of, you know, the police and how they did what they did, but you didn't show the witnesses. You missed the main thing, the video, the witnesses that said what they saw. You know what I'm saying? And then for them to say, on one thing I read, and it was very disturbing, when I know my brother didn't even get high, use any type of drugs, on one of the things, on the autopsy, it said something about he didn't have nothing in his bloodstream, and they possibly found something in his urine. First of all, we know marked metabolites. If I use cocaine today or tomorrow, and they test me, it's going to show up. Those are marked metabolites. We're not idiots. You're gonna see that. A person's not gonna get high for tomorrow and then just show up the next day. We're focusing July the 18th.
Exactly.
You know, they wanna focus on 10 years ago with his record. He did his time. He didn't never murder or brutally beat nobody. I can tell you that for certain. He didn't even have a run-in with the law. He was even a model, you know, person that came out and turned his life around. You know, I'm not trying to paint him out to be an angel, because none of us are perfect. But he was a man that had goals set up, and he was accommodating those goals and achieving those goals. You know, and for you to be brutally murdered and all somebody could do is drag up your pants, is this justified? I wouldn't care if he was a killer. That's called a due process. No one should be brutally beat, stomped, kicked, tased in police custody, period. They're not the judge, jury, and the prosecution. They're supposed to take them. You doing a crime, lock me up, take me to jail, and let me get a lawyer. You know, and let them fight my case to see if I need to be back in there or not. That's nonsense. It's disgusting, and I want to let everybody know it could be you. We don't take a stand now. Y'all need to come out, support my family, because we never thought it would be our family. And it could easily be your family. You can see they're not doing nothing. But we're going to make sure they do something in my brother's case. I will not stop until I'm dead and gone. And if I can come back then and fight for him, I will.
Tawanda Jones and Jamie Richardson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.